Hey everyone, welcome to episode 298 of the All Dolphins podcast on this beautiful, actually rainy Thursday, May 30th. I am joined today by longtime friend, all around good guy, Florida, South Florida, South Florida. I'll get it right eventually. Take two. South Florida Sun-Sentinel reporter columnist Chris Perkins. How are you, Perk?
I'm good, man. I'm not as financially fortunate as Jaylen Waddle, but nevertheless, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, that's about this. What I was thinking. I'm doing very well. Not as well as Jaylen Waddle, but and we will talk about Jaylen Waddle and all things Jaylen Waddle today. It's going to be a very Jaylen Waddle centric episode. First, however, we're going to do the obligatory history lesson today. We are on 1998. See how we do this? 98 episode.
I get it. I get it. I see the link.
Pretty clever, right?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
Thank you very little. So 1998 was Jimmy Johnson's third year as Dolphin head coach. In the drama started in the draft. The Dolphins had the 19th overall pick, and there was a wide receiver out there who was stupidly talented, but came with a little bit of, for lack of a better term, baggage. I'm talking about, of course, Randy Moss. And the question was around the NFL, which team is going to take a chance on him, on that immense talent but potential headache. Before the draft or very early in the draft, Jimmy Johnson traded down from 19 to 29, the deal with the Green Bay Packers, who used that pick to select, fun Dolphin fact here, a future Dolphin by the name of Vonnie Holliday.
Mm-hmm.
So lo and behold, Randy Moss would have been available at number 19. Dolphins didn't get the chance to take him because that pick was gone. Instead, at number 29, the Dolphins selected a running back from Mississippi by the name of John Avery, who became known more than anything else during his time with the Dolphins for being obsessed with playing video games at times when he should have been studying the playbook. So that didn't work out too well. On the field, and then the Dolphins selected a wide receiver from East Carolina in the third round by the name of Larry Shannon, who Jimmy Johnson pumped as basically just as good as Randy Moss. And to put it very mildly, it didn't quite pan out that way. On the field, Dolphins had a pretty solid season. I want to say they were 10-6. They made the playoffs as a wild card. One of the most exciting playoff games in Dolphin history. Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the playoffs 24-17. They got destroyed by Eric Moulds in that game. Had about 230 yards receiving. The Dolphins led 24-14 late in the game, gave up a field goal. The Bills recovered a non-side kick, had a chance to go tie the game, and then the Dolphins clinched the win when Trace Armstrong smacked Doug Flutie from the side. The ball came loose. Shane Burton, a fellow defensive lineman, fell on the ball, recovered the fumble. Dolphins moved on to the next round, where unfortunately they ran into the eventual Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos and got spanked 38-3. During that regular season, the Broncos played in Miami in the Monday night game. Dan Marino outdueled John Elway in that game. Dolphins won 31-21. Lamar Thomas, former University of Miami great, had 3 touchdown receptions that night. And it could have been the same kind of night it was in 1985 when the Dolphins stopped the Chicago Bears' perfect season or run at a perfect season because Denver got off to a 11-0 or 12-0 start. However, the week before they were coming to Miami, they were upset by the New York Giants. So the idea of the Dolphins, again, preserving their place in history, the organization's place in history as the only perfect team, was kind of spoiled. They took care of business anyway. The Broncos got the revenge in the playoffs. So that takes care of that. You were in Dallas in 98, my friend, correct?
No, I was here. This was my second year here covering University of Miami.
Okay, got it. So trying to see if there was any University of Miami ties other than Yatil Green in his second season with the Dolphins, again tearing an ACL, which basically ended his career as an NFL prospect after being a first-round selection. So, and Yatil Green. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, you know what was funny is out of all those names that you mentioned, Randy Moss, Larry Shannon, John Avery, Jimmy Johnson, the name that really got me was Trace Armstrong because my first year covering the Dolphins, 2000, it was Trace and JT. Yep. And wow, what a pair they were. I mean, what an incredible pair they were.
Absolutely. And Trace Armstrong was acquired in a trade with the Bears for second and third round picks, became a great trade, and then went on to become a player agent.
Yep.
And all around good guy. Trace Armstrong's a great guy.
Yep. Good guy.
We mentioned Yatil Green as part of the history lesson. Yatil Green is one of the, I don't know the exact number, but wide receivers the Dolphins selected in the first round. And the last one with whom they did that was Jaylen Waddle in 2021. And that's worked out pretty well. And the proof came in the fact that he's gotten the second contract, big contract extension. The numbers are 3 years, 84.75 million, 76 million guaranteed. It's tacked on to the end of 2025, which was his fifth-year option. So now Waddle is under contract over the next 5 years. And in those 5 years, he's going to make about 104 million, I want to say. So that averages out to about 21 million a year, which is a pretty good number for a player of Waddle's caliber. Thoughts?
I like it. The number is probably big, but look, Jaylen Waddle is essential to what the Dolphins do, and here's why. Because Tyreek Hill needs somebody to play off of. You need a 1-2 punch. You just can't have the one punch of Tyreek Hill. So you've got to have Jaylen to go along with Tyreek and vice versa. That gives you one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL. We know now you have OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. Ideally, the thought is you probably have the best 1-2-3. We'll see what OBJ looks like, but we know Waddle is fast. We know Waddle is tough. We know that he plays well with the Dolphins, meaning he vibes with Tyreek and with Tua and with Mike McDaniel. I like this. I like the way they got out ahead of this. I thought that Tua would have come first or Javon Holland would have come first, but whatever. Good move, good signing, good guy. I like this.
Yeah, and here's the thing too: is if you're going to compare the numbers and this, you see those charts. Yeah. Now he's got like the second highest AAV for wide receivers at what was the number? Oh, why is my head not working right now? 3 for 84, so 28 or that neighborhood, 28 mil a year. That average only applies to the extension itself. And the fact that it's not like the Dolphins replaced the final 2 years on Waddle's contract, which at this time are extraordinarily advantageous to the Dolphins, given the quality of player that Jaylen Waddle is. So again, to me, I look at it in the big picture. However, the agents want to look at it. If it makes Waddle look better to say 34 million average, and again, for some reason, the numbers are jumbling in my head right now, or 28 million, whatever. Like I said, but if we want to look at it like that, that's fine. To me, I think I look big picture. You have this guy under control for the next 5 years at 21 mil, which is an absolute bargain, again, for a player of his caliber. And as you mentioned, would it be like corny to say he's the yin to Tyreek Hill's yang or whatever? But he's a great complementary piece. And he's a guy who, if something happens to Tyreek Hill in the near future, and we're going to discuss Tyreek and his contract situation as well here, I think he's a guy who easily could be the number one, which he was in 2021 when he set the NFL record for rookies for receptions in a season.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, Poop. Tell me what you think about this. It's to me, when you're awarding a player a new contract or an extension, you can say value based on others around the league in his role, but you also have to look at value to the team and that situation. And that's where Waddle's value, it's with the Dolphins, that value is very, very high. I know he's a number 2 receiver, but when you say, all right, we've got Tyreek under control, no, now you got to deal with Jaylen Waddle. And Tua knows this guy from college. So his value to the Dolphins, his value in this offense, when you look at AAV, average annual value, okay, that's not the entire story. Everybody's situation is unique. His value to the Dolphins makes his dollar value, to me, being a little high. It makes it, okay, it's a little more palatable.
Yeah, and again, here's the thing, too, that we have to understand is Jaylen Waddle had a very good year last year, over 1,000 yards. I don't remember off the top of my head the number of touchdowns, but he he played hurt a good part of the season, starting in training camp when he got hurt in those joint practices with Atlanta. Remember, he looked like he had some kind of rib injury or something.
Yep.
And despite that, he still put up good numbers. It wasn't quite the ridiculousness we saw, particularly in 2022. I remember 3 plays that really stick out in my mind in 2022 that you go like, damn, that guy's fast. The opener against New England, when they went for it on 4th and 7, he takes a quick slant over the middle and boom. I mean, he had 3 guys converging and he just raced them. Against Buffalo in that Saturday night game where he basically takes a deep slant at the Buffalo 45 and good luck catching him. You're not. And it turned into like a 67-yard touchdown. And then against Green Bay, where it's like a short crosser of about 10 yards. And in the middle of the field, he catches it. You would think, okay, it's going to be a 15-yard gain. Great. Except he gets to the corner before any Green Bay defender can get him. And the only guy who can run with him downfield is Tyreek Hill. And I think if Jaylen Waddle can stay healthy and avoid the little knickknacks that he had last year, there's no reason for him to be able to duplicate that again.
Yeah, and let me say this also on a personal note. I'm happy to see Waddle get paid because he's one of those guys in the locker room. Correct me if I'm wrong, Poop, or back me up on this. He's usually got a smile on his face. He's upbeat. You like talking to Jaylen. Like, what?
I'm wrong. You're wrong. No, I understand.
I get you. I like that. But yeah, I like dealing with Jaylen. It's just, even if he's not smiling at the time, it's easy to get him to smile. He's got good energy, and I like talking to good energy guys. So you like to see those types of people get rewarded. So on a personal note, yeah, I'm happy to see Jaylen get paid.
Here's maybe one of the best compliments I can pay him. And unless there's something going on behind the scenes I'm not aware of, and I don't think there is, and this is based on what I know, based on our interaction with him, based on everything we hear, for a wide receiver, he is extraordinarily low maintenance.
Yes.
And this is a position that lends itself to, the primo receiver. He is so not that.
Yep. Yeah, I like this move on a few levels. So yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, so we're at the movies. Thumbs up.
That's right.
Right. If you remember this, you're old.
I do.
Thumbs up. Now the second half of the equation is Tyreek Hill. Of course, saw that and put on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Couldn't be more happier. Mm-hmm. And part of that is he likes Jaylen Waddle. As you mentioned, it's very. I can't imagine anybody not liking Jaylen. He's a great kid.
Yep.
But Tyreek's also going, hello, hi, what about me? Remember his appearance on the Around the Bar podcast where he was basically saying, wife and I love it in Miami, want to stay here, I want to retire here. So, quote unquote, in essence, Chris Greer signed me.
Right.
Well, yeah. So Tyreek Hill clearly wants a contract extension. And as I sit here now, I'm not so sure it's coming because here's the thing. Dolphins were looking for any way possible to create cap space this offseason because they were in rough shape. They could have easily restructured Tyreek's contract or extended it, did nothing with it. The guaranteed money is all gone after 2024. And and that's on one side. On the flip side, this team has been built around speed, more speed, and then a little bit more speed on top of that. And Tyreek Hill obviously is at the top of that list because he's got speed and toughness and playmaking ability. So on the one hand, you tell yourself, there's no way they can let that guy go. I mean, he's the number one piece of the whole philosophical ideal that the Dolphins have put together. On the other hand, all the signs, if you connect all the dots, it says they're not re-signing him next offseason.
It's a very, very interesting situation with Tyreek because, as you know, I regard Tyreek as the most important player on the team, the most valuable player on the team. Yes, you too, and everything is built around him. So, yes, but boy, I would be careful with extending Tyreek for too long for both, on the field and off the field reasons. And on the field, I just mean his age. Tyreek is a baller. He is an absolute baller. But the age with the cost you've got to kind of watch that because he's not going to be fast forever. Once you cross 30, okay, you're suspect every year. So I would watch that. And here's something I will scoop myself here, Poop. And I've been kicking around a column idea.
Hold on, let me write it down.
Right. Well, this is something
you.
that I could ask like you and Steve Goldstein and Dave Hyde because you're football hockey fans. And so my thought is, the Florida Panthers make this huge Huberdeau for Tkachuk trade. Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk. And Tkachuk brings them the toughness that they need. They thought that high scoring stuff couldn't win in the playoffs. So they make this huge landmark shake it up trade. Is there a Dolphins equivalent out there? And I would think it would have to involve Tyreek, right? You're not going to do the landmark thing with Waddle. You're not trading Tua. And nobody, I guess Jalen Ramsey, but right, it would have to involve Tyreek. And could the Dolphins, is there a trade out there like that for the Dolphins? That's one thing that I've been kicking around that, look, if you're looking for a shakeup and if you're not going to marry Tyreek, if you're just going to stay engaged to him, you might want to think about it. Yeah, just think.
No, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, you have to think what would the Dolphins want? Because right, you're giving up that speed. The Panthers got toughness. So do you want do you want a tough cornerback, or do you like what? So anyway, that's kind of something I've been thinking about.
I hear where you're coming from, and I think the Panthers realized that their style of play before, which was highly entertaining, highly productive in the regular season, they had the best record in the league 2 years ago, would not work in the playoffs.
Yep.
And then they got lucky that Matthew Tkachuk was entering a contract year in Calgary, wanted no part of re-signing with them. So he became available. And then they had their other pieces were able to switch their style a little bit. And then they hired a coach who could implement a new style, which was a more of a playoff type style.
Yeah.
In Paul Maurice.
Yep.
The problem with the Dolphins is if you look, it's like everything they do offensively, to me, is built around speed and finesse.
Yeah.
You look like even their running game is built around misdirection, getting the defense to go the wrong way, and then cutting back against the grain. And the passing game is built on quickness, timing, and speed.
Correct.
So I don't know that it just with one player, even if you got like the most dominant offensive lineman in the NFL, like even if you got, I don't know, if Penei Sewell, and then Penei Sewell is an interesting conversation here because the Dolphins had a chance at him in that 2021 draft. And they chose to go with speed with Jaylen Waddle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Had they gone with Penei Sewell, who also would have been a great pick, then maybe the philosophical ideal of the team becomes power, physicality, as opposed to speed. Yep. And then once they made the choice for Waddle for speed, that's 2021. Then Mike McDaniel arrives, and then the Chiefs call them and, hey, you had any interest in Tyreek Hill? And all of a sudden it's like, it's like, okay, full blast with the speed angle. And I don't know. I think it would require a wholesale transformation of the roster to go from that model to a more power-based physical approach.
Yeah, and you've just, I don't know if you've doubled down on the speed, but you did just draft Jalen Wright, correct? And
absolutely, you did.
Yeah, so there's no, so you're deeper. You're not going the way that I was saying. You're deeper in with what you're doing, the speed. But that, just when you bring up Tyreek and extending him, I love me some Tyreek Hill for what he does for this offense. I just wonder how much longer he'll be as effective and worth the cost. That's what you have to measure, obviously.
No, I agree. And then the other part of it, too, that doesn't get mentioned very often, maybe it's just me who's crazy, but seems to me that the last 2 seasons he dealt with injuries late in the season. And I don't know, there's a wear and tear effect on a guy who gets so many targets, who as strong as he isn't necessarily the big guy. And then considering how often he gets the ball, the more you get the ball, the more chances you're going to get of being tackled in a wrong way, like what happened against Tennessee, which was kind of a fluke injury, but it's the guy tackling him. Well, if you're going to get 175 targets, that means you're in the middle of the action with bodies flying around you 175 times.
Yep, I agree. Yes, because Tyreek, that was not a wear and tear thing. What happened against Tennessee, it was you get targeted so much that this is almost bound to happen to you thing. I agree with you there. And the bottom line is, look what it did to the offense. And so, Tyreek's importance is just hugely valuable. But yes, that workload, you've got to figure out a way to reduce the possibility that Tyreek ends up like he did late last season, late this season.
Yeah, and one of the talking points this week at the Dolphin OTA that was open to the media was the idea of like lightening the load for Tyreek, but the conversation centered around practice. And to me, it's like, he doesn't get hurt in practice. All he does is he builds up his body and his conditioning. And again, the guy's a physical freak of nature. If you've ever seen Tyreek Hill up close, I mean, the guy's put together. I mean, he's a rock, and he's super fast on top of it. To me, where you could help him become more durable, stop targeting him so much. And this is where it's kind of like a balancing thing, because he's your most dangerous weapon. And if you need a clutch third down, that's the guy I'm going to.
Yeah, I know, because I think that other teams clearly know that that's the guy. Like, we've got to focus on Tyreek. And so it just makes you so predictable and so one-dimensional to me, leaning on him so often. And look, there's other teams that do that, right? Tennessee did that with Derrick Henry. You knew what was coming, but Derrick Henry is built differently. And look, he did lead him to the AFC Championship. He did a great job, but Tennessee's offense was not very diverse. It was not very versatile. And I think the Dolphins are in that area or are running that risk. And so, yes, I think offensive diversity, especially early in the season, when you look, that schedule before the bye allows you to work on a lot of things. I think it gives you a huge break to allow your edge rushers, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, to get healthy. To me, if they come back at the bye and they're ready, after week 6, the bye is week 6. After week 7, you're in good shape. Lighten the load on Tyreek early in the season, figure out other ways to score, develop some other things, develop some other players, and that way you can come back to it in December and January, situationally, and for, a whole stretch, a 3-week stretch or whatever. You've developed OBJ, or you developed Jonnu Smith on 3rd and 1, or Chris Brooks on 3rd and 1, whatever it is. But yeah, these things, you're going to need this offensive diversity later in the season, as we've seen. Work on it early and have the dual purpose of keeping some load off of Tyreek.
I concur. Where I didn't concur is I saw a column in the South Florida Sun-Sentinel written by this gentleman who you may know him, you may know him, know and love him, suggesting that if the Dolphins do not give Tua his contract extension, they might not get the same guy, because I guess he would be pissy.
No.
That was you who wrote that column.
Yes.
Go ahead. And I did read it. Didn't you say he was going to get knocked? He would not be the same guy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: that would you risk $200 million? And it you would make a business decision. It's like if Derrick Henry is running at you as a cornerback in the fourth quarter when you're trailing by 17, you're going to make a business decision. That's not right. So if Tua have a sore ankle, is he going to push through it, or is he going to kind of say, I don't need a multi-week injury at this time of my career? I understand it's my final contract year. I need to play well to get more money. That's the Christian Wilkins, Javon Holland mindset. Tua has $200 million in the bank. Do you want to jeopardize that? His deal is, am I going to get more than Jared Goff at 212?
But does he? That's the question. But does he? And here's
close to that. He's got a huge amount in the bank. Christian Wilkins didn't. Javon Holland doesn't. To me, Tua is risking kind of that guaranteed money. Those guys are trying to get to that big guaranteed money level, Tua is risking losing it.
Okay, let's play hypothetical though here.
Okay.
Here's the thing. If it winds up that the Dolphins do not sign him to a contract extension before the season starts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on record as saying I do believe it's going to happen, but we're playing hypothetical here because it's fun.
Yeah.
If the Dolphins do not give him a contract extension, they still hold their rights for next year under the franchise tag, which would be like 36, 37 mil for a quarterback, I think somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they wanted to, they could double up and do it again the following year.
Mm-hmm.
So if Tua goes in, and again, it doesn't necessarily safeguards is money, I guess would be the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really benefit him in the long run, as opposed to if he completely balls out to where he would erase any question the Dolphins would have about paying him that big money?
I think he's going to get big money either way. To me, the big question is how much, right? I mean, Tua, like they're not going to, give Tua. This isn't a difference of do we give Tua, $170 million or $220 million. Like Tua's going to get what, 190, 200, whatever, 180. Do you want to jeopardize that? If you're Tua and you do the Connor Williams, you blow out your knee, you're screwed. So are you going to push it? If you feel a twinge in your shoulder or your elbow and it hurts when you throw a specific pass, I'm probably not throwing that specific pass anymore. I'm not going to push
out
it.
there, period, if that's the case, and he should be communicating with his doctors. But you seem to be, because you keep mentioning he's going to get 180, 190 regardless. That's if he gets a long-term extension. Again, the Dolphins have the ability that if Tua, again, this is a hypothetical, he doesn't get a contract extension before the season.
Mm-hmm.
If Tua plays okay to where the Dolphins certainly want to keep him as their quarterback, but they're not ready to commit $200 million, then he's making 36 next year. So he's not jeopardizing $200 million. Whereas he could guarantee himself that money if he plays through something, again, where he's not risking. Trust me, I am with you on the idea of he would be foolish to risk anything long-term or very, very serious if he's got a contract, a large contract looming.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the idea of if there's any hesitation and Dolphins do wind up making him play on the 50-year option where he can eliminate all that and guarantee himself that huge payday with a good season, which would include not necessarily bailing out quickly for minor injuries.
Do you think if he balls out this year, what do you think he's guaranteed? I still, and here's my thing. If he plays all 17, let's say he does, he slightly improves on what he did last season. If I'm the Dolphins, the most impressive thing is going to be that he stayed healthy. And to me, that's probably the big thing with the contract is Tua's health. And so that's the other thing that, if I'm Tua, what do I want to show them about my health? Do I want to show them that, I can make an adjustment, or I can push through it, or would it be smarter for him to take time off and let an injury heal? Probably not, because that shows you're injury prone again. You push through it and you just kind of avoid that situation. To me, if this throw makes your shoulder hurt, I'm not making this throw. I'm not telling the Dolphins my shoulder hurts, because then they're going to think you're still injury prone. I'm just going to avoid making that throw or doing the thing that activates the pain.
Except you're assuming that the Dolphins wouldn't be able to pick up on it. And as somebody who had shoulder surgery on my throwing arm, if you do a movement where it hurts, there's gonna be some sort of an indication. And since those guys watch film all over the place, I think they'd be able to pick up on it. Here's my other thing too. I think, to me, the injury should not be a consideration anymore, the injury factor, because whatever durability concerns there are, to me, they only apply now because he's not the biggest guy. To me, they don't apply because of his history, because, again, if if he's going to get another like massive tackle where somebody lands on his hip, well, that could apply to any quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the concussions are concerned, to me, again, it got fluky a little bit in that he got bear hugged by a big defensive lineman or defensive end twice and got ragdolled to where his head wound up hitting the ground. Well, that hadn't happened to him before, and it didn't happen last year. And again, there was a fluky nature to it. So to me, I don't know how much and the durability concern with Tua is he's not built to take a lot of punishment because he's not 6'4", 230. He's, I mean, I know he's lighter this year, but who cares? Even he wasn't necessarily that big last year, regardless. He was thicker, but wasn't like he was a big quarterback by standard. So to me, it's your basic, are we moving forward for the next several years with this guy? And which, again, I still think they're going to wind up doing.
Yeah.
If they don't do it now, basically, is they just have some concerns, which would, I guess, deal with performing late in the season or against playoff opponents, and he can answer those. And then if he does answer those, and you mentioned if he balls out after playing from the fifth-year option, then he would go near top of the market. Whatever.
Yeah, and look, I think they will extend Tua. I think they should extend Tua. He's had correct me if I'm wrong, one healthy season among his previous 5. So that's what I'm not really worried about the specific injury. Is he going to get another concussion? Is he going to have another hip injury? It's just the tendency to get injured. That's what I want to see that's why I want to see another 17 games, or we don't need 15 game season. Let's not be unrealistic. 15. I just want to see him get through this season in a durable, reliable fashion. That will go a long way toward giving me, giving him a multi-year contract if I'm the Dolphins. But right now, there is still an injury/durability concern because I've only seen it once. Going back to his final season at Alabama, every year it's been something. I want to feel better about knowing that situation has been handled.
Okay. So 2021, are we dinging him for taking a direct hit in the ribs from AJ Epinesa? Is that a durability ding?
No, well, no, it's not. No, again, it's not durability. It's also tendency to get injured. And for whatever reason, whether it's your fault or not, I mean, we've all seen some guys, for whatever reason, just have a tendency to get injured. That's okay if you're the second string cornerback. If you're my starting quarterback and I'm committing X amount of dollars over X amount of years, well, let's take a second look at this situation.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. When it's fair, and that's fair.
All right. That's kind of like my writing, right? It's fair. It's fair. When it's fair, it's fair.
Oh, that's funny. I'd settle for fair right now, personally. Are we thinking that Tua is going to be the next one to get a contract extension?
Ooh, Jordan Love is out there, right? Who else is erasing him this season to an extension?
I meant among the Dolphins, but if we want to talk either one. Yeah, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence. There was
Trevor Lawrence. So you got in the Dolphins, you got Jalen Phillips. You got to see how he's going to look out. Yeah, so it's really Tua and Javon, and then Tua against the quarterback. I don't think he'll be the next quarterback. He could be the next Dolphins player to get the multi-year.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah,
I hate to agree with you again.
Right, I know. Kind of makes the show boring. I know we need to talk about more Chris Perkins columns, maybe. There's something for debate right there.
Yeah, let's make that I'll make that my assignment until the next time you appear on a guest. So on that note, on that nauseating, we agree on everything note. Perk, thanks for joining me again.
Yes, sir.
That is going to wrap it up. We will be back on Friday with a guest. Not quite sure who it is yet, but there will be a guest, and it'll be a good one. Perk, appreciate the time, and thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe, like, please. I would greatly appreciate it. On that note, thanks everyone.